Today is November 2nd, 2022. My name is Rob Carr of Calamus Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, this is going to be the last program I share with you before the November 8 election, which also means that this will be my last presentation talking about Prop 3. Normally, I record a message on Monday, and it's uploaded onto YouTube on Tuesday, and then we put it on our website on Wednesday. And then on Wednesday, I do a recording, and then it's uploaded on YouTube on Thursday, and that is presented on our website on Friday. So what you're seeing now will be on our website on Friday, but this coming Monday's program will not be, really won't be aired until Tuesday on YouTube and on Wednesday on our website. So this is it, at least from my point of view, in sharing with you some of my thoughts about Prop 3. And I don't have any notes today, and I haven't been looking on the internet to see what other pro-life events have been taking place in the last 2 or 3 days. So I just want to share with you just some thoughts and reflections about where we are right now, where we stand in the state of Michigan on the issue of abortion. We all know that the other side launched a petition drive. It was quite successful. They did pay their people a lot of money to collect signatures, but they got it on the ballot, maybe through a little, subterfuge with the way the wording was all those run-on sentences. But it happened anyway. So here we are. We're facing this referendum, and we've been trying to argue the point that the way the referendum, or way the constitutional amendment is worded, is very confusing. You read it, and you think, yeah, I think I know what that means, but then you find out, well, maybe that's not what it means. When we've been complaining that when it says every individual, that includes minors. But then the yes vote, the pro-abortion people say, no, that doesn't mean minors, because parental consent is still going to be the law in the state of Michigan. So don't be alarmed, parental consent is not going to be invalidated. Well, I go back to the wording on the amendment. It says every individual, it doesn't say every adult. So what does the word individual mean? To me, that is unclear. It's confusing. And I think a lot of Michigan voters would have the same problem I have. And they would wonder, well, what does the word individual mean? Does it mean adults only? Or does it mean minors and adults? It's a confusing, it's just confusing. And the other side likes to poo-poo our fears and apprehensions that it's going to include minors. But, to me, a minor is an individual just as much as an adult is. So that's one issue that I wanted to bring up. Another one is, and I've talked about this before, is when the person performing the abortion can be a healthcare professional. Well, just reading that, it makes you wonder, well, okay, who's the healthcare professional? Well, truly, a physician is the healthcare professional. And the other side, the pro-abortion side says, no, we're only talking about physicians. Only physicians are going to perform abortions. Well, that's fine, theoretically. That's fine, but it doesn't say physician in the wording of the amendment. It says healthcare professional. So there's a loophole. And the concern that we have is that if this thing passes, a judge or the Michigan Supreme Court or somebody in some judicial office is going to look at the wording, and they're going to render a decision based on their interpretation of that wording. So if, let's say, you had a nurse practitioner or a PA who performed an abortion. Well, they are healthcare professionals, but they are not licensed physicians. So a judge may look at that and say, well, gee, these people, they may be assisting in abortions on a regular basis. They are healthcare professionals. It seems clear that the amendment allows for healthcare professionals to perform abortions. So you don't need to be a physician to do it. You could be a PA or a nurse practitioner or a nurse or a midwife. So that's a concern. And I've talked before about the issue of words. Words mean things. Words have meanings. And if an amendment is so vague that everything is open to interpretation, well, then it's open to the whims of a liberal judge. It's just open to their interpretation. And when you're talking about something that's in the Michigan Constitution, something that is embedded in our state constitution, we need to make sure that before we vote on these things, that we know exactly what it means. Not what it might mean, but what it means. I think the voters in the state of Michigan need clarity on what this amendment really means and how it may affect the lives and safety of Michigan's women. If they find out down the road that a nurse practitioner can perform the abortion instead of a physician, well, maybe some women might think twice about that happening, because they may want a physician and they may not get one, and the courts may rule that they don't have to be an MD. And then there's the issue of that an individual cannot be prosecuted if they transport or help or assist someone getting an abortion. And that goes back to the whole issue of parental consent, because if a high school student wants to get an abortion and she doesn't want to deal with her parents with consent, she can get a teacher or a guidance counselor or someone in the school office to take her to an abortion clinic to get the abortion. And that individual who takes her there cannot be prosecuted for helping her get the abortion. So I think average Michigan voters, Michigan parents, want parental consent for their minor daughters. I've mentioned before, in most places, maybe in all places, a school cannot administer an aspirin to a student without parental consent. So if the dispensing of an aspirin requires consent, then why shouldn't an abortion require parental consent? No, we've heard now from the other side, no, parental consent is still the law in Michigan, and Prop 3 does not change that law. Well, I go back to the wording, and I go back to this whole thing about people can be helping or assisting a girl get an abortion, and there's no legal recourse by the parents. What happens if that girl were to have like an infection? It may be rare, but it may happen. You always hear about an ambulance pulling up to a Planned Parenthood clinic and transporting that patient over to a hospital to be fixed, whether it's an infection or a hemorrhage or something. Those things do happen. They may be rare, but those things happen. So let's suppose in the rare case that the girl has the abortion and she's been dropped off by the guidance counselor, she has an infection and she has to go to the hospital, and maybe she has to spend the day at the hospital. Well, who's going to pay the doctor bill? Well, the parents are going to pay the bill. Do the parents have the right to sue that guidance counselor for taking their daughter behind their backs? The law is pretty clear that you cannot be prosecuted. You cannot be prosecuted for helping. So I think the parents are in a lurch. They do not have the legal recourse to sue these people. And I go back to the issue of parental consent. I think Michiganders of all flavors and stripes support parental consent. Even people who are pro-choice do believe that if a girl is to get an abortion, she has to have the consent of at least one parent. So we're coming into the home stretch. We're down into the final week. Please be in prayer. I know that this Wednesday is a day of fasting for a lot of churches. And I've been fasting too, and praying that God will do a great miracle in giving us a victory on November 8th. Vote no on Proposal 3. Vote no, like your life depended on it. But really, it's not your lives that are dependent. It's the lives of thousands of babies in the state of Michigan who can be saved and spared from the scalpel or the curette of the abortionist. They can be saved if we vote no on Prop 3. With that, I'll let you go, and I will see you next time.